Right. All right. Welcome,
Cool.
everybody.
We're live. I see the live button.
All right. So, Battlefield One.
Yeah, Battlefield One. So you've probably played more of it than I have, because I didn't. I have EA Access, which has turned out to be an extremely good value for me. Uh, and I got 10 hours of gameplay for free through EA Access, which includes multiplayer, single player, whatever, and you can play the first two war stories. So that's what I've played of the campaign is the first two war stories, and then I played, roughly 5 hours of the multiplayer.
Okay.
So my impressions won't be as complete as yours, but I think I was very pleasantly surprised by this game.
Yeah. Definitely. I've played. I finished all but the last war story, and I'm on the last mission of the war story. I just was getting creamed by that armored train. Playing this Audience of Arabia campaign. I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna get creamed over and over again, I just won't play multiplayer. Um, I've done, I don't know, maybe like 10 hours of multiplayer, and it's I'm loving it. Um, Titanfall 2 is actually installing right now, and I know I'm going to be torn between the two because I've heard really good things about Titanfall, but I mean, this is so good. It's it really what I've been looking for, and it makes me kind of frustrated even more so about Battlefront because it's like
Yeah.
you guys could have done this.
Well, yeah, can you imagine? So, I mean, the way that the campaign is broken down, where you have these kind of, it's not a continuous thing, right? I mean, you have these kind of these war stories that are these self-contained little snippets involving different characters, different perspectives, different timelines. I mean, what if that was one of those stories was Boba Fett, and the other one was Han Solo, was like Wicket the Ewok or something? They could have done if they had applied this to Star Wars instead of that crap that we got. It could be really awesome.
But since we already did like a whole other podcast, I'm sorry I started Battlefront, but
Yeah, it's
I
almost
suck
it's
at it.
inevitable that we're gonna just end up talking about Star Wars no matter what we talk about.
So here's some of the things that I enjoyed the most about Battlefield One so far. Um, First of all, operations should be 90% of the multiplayer game modes that anyone should ever play. The only reason you shouldn't play operations if you're not sure you can play an hour. That's the only reason you could ever have. Like operations is so good. It's 40 players. It's ridiculous. It's multiple types of objectives. It's even two different battlefields. Two different maps. You win on one, you move on to the other. If you don't win the first one, then you don't move on to the second one, and the defenders win. You have a certain number of lives as well as capturing objectives. So being a medic is useful, and you can revive people. So you keep more troops available for you. It's just so good. The vehicles, it's just such a large scale. And as you win, you push forward. And if you start to lose, you'll go ahead and get, a Zeppelin or armored train or a dreadnought class battle. I believe battle cruiser because it wasn't necessarily a battleship. Um, or maybe it was a battleship, it was World War One. But either way, you get a dreadnought class naval vessel, and you have another attempt. And if you fail at that, then so even if you're winning handedly, suddenly you have this additional challenge that makes the game more fun. And even if you're losing, suddenly you have something that is helping you along and gives you an extra benefit. So it's in the destructible environments. If you're in a tank and there's some sniper in that tower, just blow up the tower.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. This Frostbite engine, it's pretty amazing. I think I might be echoing there a little bit, maybe. But the destructible environments you mentioned that. I mean, when you drive like through a building and you see like the building not just like crumbling like they used to in games where it's like, okay, I hit the building and like the whole building just kind of like it's actually crumbling based on like right exactly where you hit it. Like the physics are just so good. I agree with you that the operations and these big large scale battles, it removes the problem. I'm not a first person shooter multiplayer guy. Just like I always feel like I don't have the time to invest to get good enough at them to not just get frustrated immediately, except with the exception of Halo. For some reason, that's always clicked for me. But this removes that issue in a way because the battle is so large scale that I'm not immediately singled out in this really small arena by the guys who spend their entire lives playing. So it's not just like respawn and die every 5 seconds. Like I can actually, if I want to be the guy that snipes people, if I want to be the guy that jumps on a horse and rides around trying to hit people with my sword and slash their heads off, like there are enough other distractions on the battlefield that like I don't die immediately, and so I had like a lot of fun with it. I mean, obviously it's so varied, right? Like one of my problems with not to bring Battlefront back in, but one of my problems with Battlefront was you only got vehicles like once in a while when you did something really special. And this, like, you only have an opportunity to get into a tank, to get into a plane, to like do all these things. You're constantly getting opportunities to vary up your gameplay. And so I thought, as far as, even though it's not something, because again, I'm not like the multiplayer shooter guy, so it's not something I'm going to like spend a lot of time with. But if I had to pick one to spend time with, it would be this one. It's really good. But and you mentioned the war stories, the campaign too. I mean, introduction for this game, for the campaign, one of the best openings for a shooter that I've ever seen. Just it actually feels like they're weaving this great historical narrative. It has emotion to it. It has some weight to it. The in mission stuff feels very, like a real scenario that you can imagine happening in World War One. The characters, the way, that second war story where you're like dropped into this tank crew with your tank, old Bessie or whatever her name is, and you're trying to survive like out behind enemy lines with just this one tank crew, and like the relationships and kind of the fear that these tank crew members go through between one another, and like how that plays out. It was good. I mean, for one of the first times, there's this military shooter where I actually feel like the story matters, and I felt drawn about the character that I was playing. Whereas a lot of other ones, it's just like, how fast can I run through and blow up as much shit as possible?
one thing that was really cool that I liked about that second full war story was it reminded me a lot of the movie Fury with Brad Pitt. I don't know if you saw that
Yeah,
movie,
yeah.
but so it reminded me a little bit of that. One thing that I kind of wish that they did, I wish they had just described how incredibly uncomfortable and hot and just how miserable it was inside of one of those tanks. But even if it was just like a one-off line, like if one of the crew while you're charging the battle complains about how it's like 100 degrees inside there and like they're
Yeah.
like sweating buckets, it's like, well, would you rather be out there like with the rest of the boys or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was emotional and it draws you in and you actually care about these characters. Um, and it's good doing it. I really enjoyed actually having it be separate people in different parts because one thing that really kind of draws you out of other campaigns is you're one guy that does this battle and then you get transported in a helo and you go to this other battle and then you do this other battle. You like no one person could have that spectacular of just a war career, But this is like, all right, this one person was in this amazing battle, or this one person was in the right spot in the right time and did this. And it allows you to like have it be a little bit more believable rather than one person that essentially single-handedly won World War I. But it's like the other campaigns are also really good. The Italian one is short, but it's definitely interesting. It's a little absurd because that's the one where you wear the armored suit, and it's essentially it reminds me of one of the modern warfares where you wore like the Juggernaut suit and just went crazy. This Lawrence of Arabia one is great. It makes me want to rewatch Lawrence of Arabia
That's
because
that's a that's a testament in itself because that's a commitment.
yeah, it's a long movie. But I really have always enjoyed Lawrence of Arabia, especially since it's true. Like you could there's a lot of tropes in it that have been repeated a bunch of times, but like this one, it's not only just the original, but it's the real story.
Right, right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, I'll be curious to see what you think of Titanfall and I don't know if you're planning on playing Infinite Warfare or not. I almost
I'll
like
gamefly it, but I'm not gonna buy it because I have like saturation point of I have two amazing games to play right now, and they're both multiplayer too. So it's not yeah.
yeah, that's my thing is like Battlefield 1 is in a great spot because it benefits from being the first one out in this like kind of holiday-ish time period of three really big shooters coming out. So it benefits from being first. And then I think like it surprised so many people and it turned out to be so good that I think like a lot of people like me are going to be like, I doubt that Titanfall or Infinite Warfare are going to have a campaign that I like as much of that. I'm not the multiplayer shooter guy. Like maybe I'll play Titanfall and maybe I'll play Infinite Warfare at some point to try the campaign out, but I feel like okay, I had my shooter fix for the fall. I really loved Battlefield 1. I'm just so doubtful that either of those two from a campaign standpoint are going to hold a candle to it that I'm like, okay, I'm good. I'm good. But I'll be interested to see, what you think of Titanfall and of course I'll be listening to see what other people are saying about Infinite Warfare. And I was initially curious. I don't know. I played Battlefield. I'm like, still not something that is personally for me gonna make it on like my top 5 of the year or anything. But I'm sure as far as shooters go, it's probably the pinnacle of anything I've played in the last several years for a first person shooter.
Well, one thing that I'm really enjoying about it over other shooters, and even the first Titanfall, which I really enjoyed, is that teamwork is just built into the game. I've been playing a lot as a medic, so therefore you're inherently healing people that are around you. You're throwing med packs. If you're a support, you're throwing ammo. And no one person can take down a tank. Like you don't have enough grenades, or unless you have anti-tank mine. Those were seem I've gotten blown up quite a number of times where I thought I was fine going across a bridge and then I'm suddenly gone. But the suppression mechanic where you get points for that, you get points for healing people, you get points for reviving people, you get points for spotting enemies. The first game that I played as a multiplayer, I was playing it like Battlefront. I was spawning, running towards the objective, and dying. And this game, you don't respawn immediately, so you have to kind of hold down the button and just wait longer. And that got me to slow down. I switched my class. I was like, I'm going to be a medic. So like 5 people charge forward, the first two out die, I shoot a little bit, and then as soon as it clears a little bit, I revive the other ones while the rest charge forward. And I just stayed in the back. I was just a medic, and I was having a lot of fun. I had a great. It had to be a very rare because it's a semi-automatic, like carbine. That's another thing. It's like there's a lot of things that are really historically accurate about this game. Just the look of everything and sounds and the fact that they called them apples and Duff and Charlie instead of like the
Right.
Like that's what they actually called butters. It's just like
Yeah.
like it sounds so weird when you're like the announcers like like take objective apples and
Yeah, when you're
I'm
used to
like
like the current NATO call signs for the
right
phonetic
exactly.
alphabet,
It
yeah.
reminds me like there was a time before the NATO call signs but yeah, the weapons that are on the battlefield. But this isn't really new for Battlefield in general because in Battlefield 3 you could have a squad member with a Russian gun and an Italian gun and a NATO. Like in a normal battle, almost everyone would have similar rifles. There would be one heavy support class and then a sniper. There would just be a few, but the vast majority would just be grunts with, in our case, modern warfare, like really good semi-automatic or a three-shot burst with the automatic option. But in this one, it's like every assault class starts out with a submachine gun when there were probably like 100 submachine guns on
Yeah,
like
yeah.
on the Western Front
Yeah.
at any one time. So that makes it a little bit absurd, but the game just wouldn't nearly be as fun if everyone was just doing a standard non-scope bolt action rifle. So don't go into this for like the history lesson, but it's it's definitely the campaigns are historically accurate. It's just like I'm kind of like a sucker for this time frame. Mostly, it's not being ignored anymore because I posted a review recently on Valiant Hearts, a really great World War One game. It's just a puzzle game. This game, one reason why I actually kind of like Downton Abbey actually was because it was during this time period, and at the time, the season that they do World War One, like there was like no TV shows, no movies that went into World War One. And I don't know if you've seen the BBC show Peaky Blinders by any chance.
No, I haven't. I mean, I know of it, but I haven't watched it.
It's really good. It's actually the exact same time frame as Downton Abbey, but it's the other side of the coin. It's a bunch of really low class, like criminal class South London, not South Londoners, but South England industrial city vets that come back from World War One and how society and the criminal underworld changes because suddenly you had all these guys that were maybe running back black markets and gambling, and then suddenly you train them to be like amazing killers.
Right.
They come back home and they're all like shell shocked and they want more out of life because they risk so much and just the political and it's a really interesting show. It's Downton Abbey, but like violence, like tits. It's the dark side of Downton Abbey. It's very interesting. It's the exact same time frame, and occasionally they'll go to a place where like the rich people are too, and you're like, wow, it really was two different worlds. So.
Hmm.
Um, and they have flashbacks to the war, and they talk about the war a lot. So you may enjoy it if you're um, getting really sucked into this time frame.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I'm glad that we're seeing more media cover this time period, and especially in games, because like you said, it had been pretty well ignored up until recently. I mean, we had so much World War II stuff, especially late '90s, early 2000s, and then after the war on terror and all that, everybody suddenly was like, "Oh, we got modern warfare," and everybody's like, "Oh, we got to do like current day / near future warfare." And so it's good to get this because it's an interesting time period, but it's also because it's just a fresh take on the environment that you game within and the types of weapons you can get. I mean, you were talking about those large scale operations and how all of the roles really matter, and I was kind of thinking, wouldn't it be really cool, like 40 friends who are all available at the same time, which is nearly impossible. But would it be really cool
unless you're on a college campus,
yeah, I mean, maybe if you're in a college campus, this would be easier. But can you imagine, like, if everybody on your team for one of those operations battles was actually in party chat together, and you had like a designated leader, and because then you could say, okay, like 10 of you are going to stay here and hold objective apples, and the other 30 of wave up and take the next point. Like if you could coordinate that kind of attack, you would just dominate. Because part of the like challenge of a multiplayer mode like that, just going in with randos like you have to do most of the time, is like everybody's running around doing their own thing. So like if it was actually like coordinated, that'd be so fun.
The squad system does help a lot because the fact that you can spawn on
Yes.
your teammate gives you incentive to do that rather than starting back at the waypoint.
Yeah, I think that's so
I
that you can
don't do
spawn on a squad mate, or you can spawn right in a tank or a plane.
right.
Yeah, that's really cool that you can choose your spawn point. I think the other thing you were talking about, like how the roles matter and like some of the like there are very different ways that you can choose to play this game, especially in the multiplayer. But even in the campaign, I thought it was so smart. First of all, for them to like throw you into where you can like drive a tank and like be in that scenario like so early. A lot of games that's kind of like the carrot on the stick. But I think the fact that they give you all these fun toys to play with so often in the campaign was really smart. But then, like, what a smart move to force you outside the tank to repair it. I mean, yeah, you can hold the right bumper and repair it inside the tank, but it's so slow you're probably going to get blown up. But to like get that faster repair, to force you outside with your wrench, and you're like cowering behind the tank, hoping not to get shot while you're repairing the tank so you can get back in and move on. Like, that's like such a smart move, because I just had like this such a suspenseful feeling playing that part, because I'm like, I do not want to get outside of this tank, but if I don't, it's gonna blow up. Like I gotta get out, and like that was really cool, I thought.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like I'm sorry to bring in Battlefront again, but one thing that I really enjoy about these like behemoths that they come in, like the Zeppelin and the armored train and the Juggernaut or the Dreadnought, they're really big. They're really powerful. They take a long time to take down, but you can shoot at them at the whole time. You don't need to call in a Y-wing strike to then make it able to shoot at them. Like they just exist, and like when that Zeppelin's up there, yeah, you want to hop in an AA gun and shoot it down, but you can't only do that because then you're ignoring all the things that are going around you, and some guy's just going to kill you. So the
Yeah.
fact that you have these massive super vehicles that are way more powerful than the regular tanks in armored, like jeeps driving around, it like it was a way better mix. And I'm like, why can't, if I am in the anti-vehicle turret on Hoth, shoot at the AT-AT whenever I want, even if it does just a minuscule amount of damage. If it's here and like it's there and I can shoot at it, why can't I shoot at it? Because it has this like non-cannon shield that the white
because Battlefront's a terrible game. That's why.
yeah, well,
That's the only answer.
what they wanted was they wanted people to dedicate anti-infantry combat and then suddenly switch focus, but it just doesn't make any sense. Like they shouldn't have done that, and it wasn't like that in the first two Battlefronts. Like you could always shoot at the vehicles. It was
Yeah.
better. And like if you can do super attacks and call in the Y-wing still and do like extra damage, but I think it would be a lot more challenging if like this is all we got, guys. Like
Well, it'd be a lot better if you could spawn in a Y wing, and then you could just always just have the Y wings. I mean, that's what Battlefield does. That's why it's so fun, you know. So
yeah. So I hope with Battlefront 2, they're like, which one had a higher critical success? Which one was praised for its campaign?
yeah, which one had a campaign? That's yeah, you know. I mean, that's for me. That's the important. Like, which one had a
I
campaign?
hope this sells more than Battlefront because I'm sure Battlefront like had just like crazy number of sales just because it was Star Wars and had been a big Star Wars game in a long time. But like, please look at the success. Like, shut up and take my money, but like, shut up and take my money like in this way.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
just but I am curious about how my the dilemma with Titanfall, because it's a completely different. You got a jump jet and there's like giant robots, and so it's like, luckily it'll be like a different feel for each one.
Yeah, I think if anything, Battlefield will be more similar to Call of Duty, but even still not that much. But Titanfall to me is more like a Halo or an Overwatch. Like it's its own special kind of fall. I feel like they're it's just very different, right? Because you're jumping in and out of the Titans, and it's just a whole different kind of strategy and special abilities and things like that. So I mean, I think if I had to pick one of the multiplayers to play based on Titanfall 1, I would probably have more fun playing Titanfall 2 from a multiplayer perspective, even though I think what Battlefield does is really smart. But from a campaign perspective, I'm going to guess I would rather play Battlefield.
Yeah, like if I want to kill people and work as a team, then I'll play Battlefront. I mean Battlefield. Jeez, Battlefield One. If I just want to like shoot a bunch of AI that run around, which is something I like about Titanfall, the AI are running around too. Because again, it's a way that allows people who aren't super amazing, play every day for 10 hours, um, the ability to contribute. Like you can shoot at the grunts, you can shoot at the specters, you can take a few pop shots at the Titans, um, and
Yeah.
still get points. They do with Battlefield. You can chip away at the vehicles. You can spot enemies. You can heal people. You can supply people. It all contributes to the
Yeah,
overall.
the more that we talk about those two, the less interested I become in Call of Duty because it
Yeah,
has neither of those things.
yeah. No, it really does. Like,
It's basically just 5 seconds of team deathmatch and then respawn and do it again.
yeah, it's it's a Twitch shooter, and pro or con. Like Titanfall has that twitchiness to it when you're facing another pilot, but you have this other thing on the side, or when you're in a Titan, it's much more of a protracted battle. But in Call of Duty, I see you, you're dead. You saw me, I'm dead. There's nothing in between those things. It's so fast, and it's like luck and just how incredibly amazing you are. Like you can just
Yeah,
outclass
I agree.
everyone else, and it makes it less fun. It really is. Now the campaigns are always cool, and there's the space, and it's going to be interesting. I'll play it, but I'm definitely not going to buy it with
We'll play it, but we don't want to play it. So those are the kind of the three big shooters. We'll have to see after you get more time with Titanfall 2 how things pan out. But I know also one of the things that you were interested in about was this Westworld
Oh,
show on HBO. I don't think we probably need a lot of time on Westworld, but
it's so
I'm
good.
curious to hear. So you think it's no good? I'm
No, it's
actually
so
like,
good. I love it.
oh, it's so good. So okay, so all right, well, this is good then because I kind of am of the opposite
Oh
opinion.
wow.
So I'm glad that I mean, I'm not glad that I don't like it, but I'm glad that we have something a point of contention. But I at first I couldn't get over, I guess, the fact like knowing it was Michael Crichton, and then I knew nothing about Westworld. Like I had never like read any of his Westworld works or anything like that. I knew nothing about it coming into it other than it's HBO. Michael Crichton created this concept, and J.J. Abrams is involved as an executive producer, I believe. And I came into it with a pretty open mind. I thought that the previews looked really, really cool, and then this is a basically an adult theme park, and stuff's
Just
gonna
called
go
an
bad.
adult.
Like stuff's gonna go bad, and then I'm like, oh wait, Michael Crichton wrote this. I'm like, so basically, it's a theme park where stuff's gonna go wrong. Like I've heard Michael Crichton give me this before. The dinosaurs just happen to be robot-y, cybernetically created fake pay to understand what exactly they are. I guess they're not really robots. They're kind of like organic material that they've been created out of, but they're not real people either. But
Well,
I
sort
know,
of.
so that had, I kind of stumbled over that at first because I'm like, I've seen this before. It's just a different skin on a story that he's told before. But then I did get really like interested after the second episode, especially where you've got Anthony Hopkins's character like kind of out roaming in the desert, and there's like some mystery with this like steeple off in the distance that he's looking at, and it's like trying to weave in some kind of mystery here, like some seedy underbelly to this theme park, perhaps. But then I watched the third episode, and it just was so boring to me. It was so just repetitive and boring, and it didn't carry forth that promise of that mystery, and examining that from the second episode. So they're 4 episodes out now. I haven't watched the fourth episode because kind of like I don't know if this is for me, but maybe you can persuade me otherwise.
All right, I'll tell you why you're wrong. First of all, I'm like, this isn't like a like a it's a season. It's not a 10-hour movie. So like it's like not every episode of Game of Thrones is awesome. Like there's episodes where you just like a few things happen and like there's no spectacular thing. So like when
Well,
there's
that's because there are like literally hundreds of pages that don't need to be in each of those books.
but so with this one, it's like not every minute of every hour is going to be completely like just oh my god, I can't believe that happened kind of thing. It's setting up this lore that I'm really interested in. And so, have you seen the movie that came out a few years ago, Deus Ex, or
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
sorry,
yeah, yeah,
Ex
yeah.
Machina? So it's a really interesting idea with AI and what's real and what is something that is so good at pretending it's real that we think it's real, but maybe it's not. It's just this dilemma of like, what is life? What is intelligent life? When does something go beyond just what what its design is? And like the thing is, like with there's most likely never going to be dinosaurs walking around unless we get like some kind of crazy. I've heard like weird things about like you could like take a chicken and get rid of the modern DNA. Like
Well, if
I don't
they did that, it would probably be a more accurate representation of an actual dinosaur than what we saw in Jurassic Park. But
that's true, but the thing is like this will happen in some sort of way. Like artificial intelligence will happen, or the dilemmas of it, as well as like incredibly realistic looking um, robots. So I would still consider these robots. They
yeah, I
not
don't disagree with you at all. But for this show seems less about artificial intelligence, and like they could replace the characters with blow up dolls and have the same exact story. Like, I mean, basically the premise of the show is rich guys come to have sex with fake women in a theme park, and then sometimes they get shot, and we have to repair them. Like, I mean, I'm
well,
interested in Dolores's like whole story and like how some of the we'll just call them robots are
I mean they're
remembering things from their past lives and whatnot. Like, I think all that's really interesting, but I don't know.
like they're
I guess I wish they would just get to the point.
they're definitely robots, and I think like when they die, I don't think they're dying because like they don't have that function anymore. Because like there's that one scene that I really loved where that one went kind of crazy and killed a bunch of people and was like water bordering them with milk, and
Yeah.
he was drinking milk and milk was coming out from him, which is definitely calling back to the Alien and Aliens, where the androids have like this milky blood and it squirts out of them in a few scenes. So I love one for that callback, and that shows like his like if you had a wound like that, if you were human, you would be dead. So he got shot. He probably was supposed to like turn off when they think they're dead, but he kept on going. And so that's why he was continuing to function just fine. Now, the one like there's one where it like smashes his head with rock. Like they can get incapacitated, but I don't think they die in the same kind of way that they're vulnerable. I'm sure they have vital parts, and I don't know how much of their blood is just special effects and how much of it is like what is actually keeping them functional. But they're definitely not like completely biologic because you see all those like 3D printers and stuff just doing
Right.
things as well as them just going in and swapping certain things out. So there's definitely at least maybe there's just a lot of silicon. Like they're not. I don't think they're like fully like carbon based chemo electrical brain neuro net kind of things. I think there's that's in some ways a certain amount of makeup, but it's really interesting, and as well as what happens to society when there are these amazing looking robots. They're really lifelike, and yeah, rich white guys just want to go there and have sex with them. Like, when does that become wrong? When does that become like sexual violence?
I
When
thought you were gonna say when can we go do that? Oh, when does that become reality?
you compare them to like blow up dolls. Like, there's no one's gonna be like, or there's like those super expensive like sex dolls that are out there now. Well, no one's gonna bat an eye when someone gets tired of one and just like throws in the garbage or like just like. But it does bring and it harkens of course back to like real life slavery that happened where these these people were property. You could have sex with them. Many owners did, hence why it's like um many owners had sex with them, and if something went wrong or if they acted up, then you could just kill them or punish them in incredibly severe ways. That's essentially what's happening in this show. Like, these robots are slaves. They have, and the same fact that like you created them so you can do what you want. It's like, well, if you have two slaves and they have a child, technically you facilitated the creation of that slave as well. So it's like it's the same. And of course, like I'm not, people are people, and these things are like robots. But when does that AI? When does this become just instead of like a sexual fantasy or a live action Red Dead Redemption turned into you know sexual and like physical abuse against sentient things that can at least think that they feel pain or react as if they're feeling pain, but do they feel pain? Like, it's just it like the concept in what is working in the background and that they're building the lore, and between I forget the name of the actor who plays like the head programmer. He was in the
Oh
Hunger Games.
yeah, the black guy.
Yeah.
Whatever
So
his name
him and like
is.
Hawkins.
we're getting all kinds of internet points by comparing real slaves to fake robots on a show, and we don't know the name of the black guy.
Like, he's really good.
But he's great, yeah.
But they're both messing with the code. They're both having their own little experiments. But what motivations do they have? Like, there's a chance that Anthony Hawkins, when he was going on about like human evolution, stopped. Maybe he thinks, you know what, I'm going to tinker with these robots until they overthrow us. Or he believes what he's been saying before is like, these are just non-thinking, non-feeling machines. Do whatever you want to them.
Sure.
So there's a greater mystery going
But
on.
there's no way, right, that Anthony Hopkins is actually human, right?
Oh,
My whole theory is that his partner that he talks about, who's like no longer around, was actually human and created him to like finish running everything and like complete that evolution. That's my theory. Like, I don't know. I feel like I see through this show already, and I just want to like I want answers. And you're totally right about like they're obviously not going to get to the end in the fourth episode, but like I don't know. I guess for me it moves like a little slow, but I am interested in the show. Like I almost want to like go
Well,
back and read the synopsis on Wikipedia after the end of the season more than I want to watch it, because you're right. And what makes the show like interesting is that whole like kind of watching these sentient beings evolve beyond just being robots. It's what made watching Data on the next Star Trek: The Next Generation. It's what made watching Data like so interesting, right? Because that whole character arc is him like learning how to become more human. He gets
Josh, I know how
learns like
you
he
watch
gets
the
a
show.
humor chip.
Just pretend the whole thing is in the holodeck, and Data created the main female character. Like it's all takes place in the Star Trek. It's the holodeck
Well,
episode.
I'm back in. I'm back in. I guess I'm gonna go watch episode 4 after this, because now the whole thing's just Star Trek: The Next Generation 2. So, all right, well maybe I'll give it another shot. I don't know. I do want to know more like about the Man in Black. Ed Harris's character. I do want to know more about Anthony Hopkins' character. I guess I care more about the people like on the fringe of Westworld who are kind of like running things, and that programmer guy who's like tweaking things and kind of has his own agenda. Like I care more about those things than I do about what's actually happening inside the park. And I guess to me, like there's too much emphasis on like replaying this over again in the park, and like the what's happening in the park, where to me the more interesting part is the people pulling the strings on the fringes.
So here's another interesting theory that I'm not 100% sure if it's true, but the Man in Black, the black cat, who's older and he says he's been in the park 30 years. What if the young guy that you see that's coming in with his friend, that's him? And like the two stories are happening at different times. Because the only robot that you see in both of them is the female character who's like supposed to be the oldest one in the park. And another interesting theory is when he comes in and he gets introduced, the logo for Westworld is different than what you see the logo in all the other like contemporary um, like shots of like the inner workings of it.
That is a very interesting theory. I had some theories
Because he comes in as a good
as
guy.
like
And, yeah, he wants to be innocent and everything, and he just like falls in love with the world and just like loses himself, and he like so like that's an interesting theory if like that's the same character just at two different time frames, and the fact that there's all these robots that don't age, you really don't know.
yep. Yeah, I was kind of wondering if the guy in black, if he was because I think there's a scene where Anthony Hopkins is also dressed in black, and so I was like, maybe there's like a time travel thing going on, or maybe he like created a younger version of himself.
Well, it's
So
not
yeah,
no time travel, like, but it may just be a non chronological narrative.
right. Yeah, we'll have to see. I'm almost a little more intrigued to go back after talking about it, because it is such a fun show to talk about, even if I'm not enjoying it as much in the moment. But we'll have to see. I want to, if you have time, get your opinion on one more thing, and that is the Nintendo Switch. I don't know if you saw
Right,
the
your phone
announcement
sounds
for
is
that.
suffering. I muted myself. It definitely looks interesting. I'm not gonna buy it, just because I'm not a huge Nintendo person to begin with, so I haven't been waiting for their next console. If anything, I really think they should just be a software developer. They should just be a game developer. Just do what Sega does. Have a partnership with either Xbox or PlayStation, or preferably both. Just like it's like, but it does look cool. It was an interesting trailer. The fact that you can play and like move with it, but I mean, it's like it has to be underpowered than the two other current consoles, just
Oh
purely
yeah,
like the size and all that kind of stuff. What's its battery? How much is it? How many games are going to come out for it? Like, I'm not a huge mobile player. Like, if I had a long commute and I was on a train or something like that, maybe. But I pretty much stopped playing mobile games because they're just a complete waste of time. Like, they're just time sinks, and they're not even like all that fun. And if I have extra time on my phone, I'm going to like read emails. I'm going to write emails. I'm going to just you know work write things out for the next like YouTube video. Like it's just I have enough hobbies and other things to do that while I'm traveling around, I don't have a need to like play like a crappier version of a game.
Well, I think for me, the Nintendo Switch it solves a little bit of that, which is why I'm interested in it, because as opposed to it being all of these handheld, it's it delivers the console experience on the go. It's delivering on the promise of the PlayStation Vita and remote play, which I have really enjoyed, but which only works about half of the time when both your PS4 and your Vita are on really great internet connections. But I've used the hell out of remote play on my PS4 and my Vita. I played Destiny campaign on my Vita, just like because Destiny is you don't really need to pay that much attention. So it's like I would like sit on the couch watching TV and play the campaign on my Vita instead of using up the PS4 on the other TV. So I don't know. The Switch is really interesting to me because it's like I can when I'm in front of my big TV, I can play Zelda, and when I go up to the bedroom, I can just pick it up and take another hour of Zelda. Or if I'm, gonna leave and go somewhere, to hang out at a friend's house, maybe take it with me and play some Zelda there. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of on board because I've enjoyed the remote play functionality with the Vita so much, and this is like the next evolution of that. It delivers on the promise that the Wii U failed to deliver on with that gamepad, where like you got to be in IR sensor range with your gamepad. So like if you walk 2 rooms with your gamepad on the Wii U, you can no longer play your Wii U. But with this, the console's built into the tablet. I can go in any room of my house. I can leave and go somewhere else, and I've still got my console experience. So I think, and then you mentioned how Nintendo should like become a software developer, which I agree with. I've been saying that for years. I wish that they would just do that. But this is kind of like the next best thing to me, because now, as opposed to having this fragmented experience where we get first party Wii U games and we never get a Zelda, and then we get like 2 Zelda games on the 3DS and like some of these other great first party games. To me, this will allow them, even though they've said that they're not phasing the 3DS out yet with the launch of this. I don't really believe that. Like, I think they eventually will. And to me, this allows them to combine their development resources so we get those really great Nintendo first party experiences more often, and it will therefore like justify the price of this console. Whereas the Wii U, I mean, I was a little bit of a latecomer to getting that, because even still, there are like maybe 10 games worth playing on it. Maybe, I mean, so, but the Switch is very appealing to me. I mean, I have questions about what's the battery life? What's it going to cost? Am I going to have to charge these Joy-Cons that clip into the side separately and all that kind of stuff? Lots of unanswered questions at this point where it could go wrong, certainly, and Nintendo,
I mean, it would
terrible hardware decisions.
Because each one of those controllers are separated; they're not connected by anything.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that they charge off of the main unit and that they don't require like their own cord or like a AAA battery in them or something stupid.
Well, it's like the gamepad for the Wii U. It's like, what was the battery life on that?
Not very long. It's really not very. I think maybe like 3 consecutive hours, and I have to dock it.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. I appreciate Nintendo. Like, I know they make really good games, but like, a lot of Nintendo is mining nostalgia, and if you don't have that initial nostalgia, it just like yeah, it's like Zelda's good. So's any other third person action game. But if I grew up with Zelda, like Zelda was one of the first games I played, and like yeah, so it's just that wasn't for me, and I kind of missed that childhood boat of Nintendo, and like from that point on, I'm kind of like not immune, but I'm like resistant to like the just like the constant nostalgia, but you know, but that's how I am with like Star Wars stuff. Like
Right,
you know,
right.
you come up with a mediocre Star Wars game, I on Battlefront and I'll buy it because like the first Battlefront, I think were we in college or high school?
Oh God, I don't know. Probably late.
No, because
Was that original Xbox?
yeah, because it was on the original Xbox.
Yes.
Yeah, so but I don't know.
Yeah, I
Like
mean, I, as the guy who spent the last 2 days playing Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, I'm not immune to that. So, yeah, and they showed footage from what looks like a new Splatoon, a new 3D Mario. Obviously, we know Zelda Breath of the Wild's coming out,
10
and
years
so
ago.
if they can like if they go old school Nintendo and they do a pack in at launch with this thing of any of those first party games, oh man, I think like they have to get this right, right? Like this is their last chance to get a console right, or they're done,
Yeah.
right? So I feel like I'm hoping that they're smart about this and that they throw everything at it and just make it really, really awesome. Because if they don't, like they're done.
But I want but the thing
I'm
is
very
like
confident.
I want the console wars to be over. I want
You want Nintendo to fail.
I want armistice to be signed, and it's just like I'm sure we may have talked about this before. Like my Blu-ray player can play any type of Blu-ray. It doesn't matter if it came out.
Can it play 4K Blu-rays?
I guess not, but it's just like it's absurd to me. It's like how close the PS4 and the Xbox One are. They're essentially like miniature PCs.
Oh yeah. Well, and then you've got PS4 Pro and the Scorpio. So you mentioned the Switch being underpowered. Yeah, it's going to be super super underpowered. But I think at this point, Nintendo realizes they are not competing with Sony and Microsoft. They are a market segment, and a lot of it is that nostalgia segment that you were talking about. And so I think like the power is
But
less
see, the thing is,
important. It's about, are they going to support it with enough of their first party titles? Because that's why people buy Nintendo consoles. Like they've got to have a steady stream of first party stuff, or they're done. I mean, they've came out with their little launch trailer, and they're like, oh, we've got all this third party support, and like look at all these games. Skyrim's going to be on this thing. Like this is the exact mistake that they made with Wii U, where they're like, oh, we that's a 2-year-old game. We've got all this like third party support. And after launch, they had no third party support, right? They put a couple of old games on it from third
yeah.
parties, and then that was it. And then it looks like they're almost like getting into that same mistake again here by demoing all this Skyrim crap on there. It's like, just give me first part, just put all of your effort into Mario, Zelda, Mario Kart, Splatoon, Donkey Kong. Like, if you do that, people will buy this thing. It won't sell what PlayStation won't sell what Xbox is selling, but you'll be successful if you can actually give us a steady stream of your first party games. And they've just failed to do that.
Or don't and die. Like that's the thing. It's like same thing with like Xbox and PS4. Like they're both great consoles. They both have great first party games. They both have amazing third party support. God, just like create a monopoly. I don't care. Like it's just like It's like the PC Master Race is like they're right because they can play so many more games than the rest of us can. But I do prefer playing on the console because it's like you just pop in the disc and it's like this easier.
That's the thing, man. Is I will always prefer console gaming because I don't have to update drivers and I don't
Yeah,
have to like, is my controller syncing correctly and like all this. I can kick back on the couch, whatever. And I don't know. I'll always prefer the console thing, but
but
I
it'll be
the
cool.
PC unification of everything is great, and also like, oh my god, like Steam sales.
Yeah,
Like you don't get. I mean, PSN has some pretty good flash sales from time to time, but nothing like right now. I bought like 2 games yesterday because Steam's having like a 75% off sale for Halloween on a lot of stuff, and it's just like I got I got games that were on my wish list for like $2.40. So
yeah. Another big game that came out. Like I love Civ 5. I enjoyed Civ Beyond. Civ 6 is out. I have
mhm.
no plans on buying it anytime soon because
Right.
I'm just too busy with stuff. And I know I'm gonna love Civ 6, but that game, if I wait a few months and there's a Steam sale for it, around the holidays, I'll get it for less. But I know I will love Civ 6. I know I I just need to like there's not enough time. There's too many great games coming. I can't believe this wasn't spread out more because there was like garbage for a really long time.
Right.
Now it's just too much good stuff. But I guess in a world of a gamer, that's not too bad of a thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a first world problem for sure. But I feel you. I'm just trying to power through some old Nintendo backlog over the next few days until Dishonored 2 comes out, and then I'll be jumping back into to that.
yeah, that's a game that I know I'm gonna enjoy. I love the first Dishonor. I'm not gonna play it for months.
All right. Oh, you got Battlefield, you got Titanfall. You'll be set for a while.
Yeah, it's like I haven't even turned on. Like it's like like it was downloading during this, and it's done downloading. But I'm gonna
Well,
go.
you better go jump on that.
Yeah, next week I'll tell you like, oh my god, you need to get Titanfall. Forget Battlefield One. Just play.
Right.
Uh,
Cool.
all right. Well,
And
I
thanks for chatting, and maybe I'll watch some Westworld.
yeah, and we need to talk about Luke Cage at some point. Like not right now, but later in the week, let's do another one, and we can talk about Luke Cage. And I really want to see Arrival. It's gotten some good reviews as well. So,
Cool.
all
All
right,
right, man.
well, good talking with you.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Bye.